Welcome to another episode of High Proof Ashes. I am Jason JB Smoke, and you are watching part 2 of our guest Will episode. Across from me,
y'all know what it is, man. Mr. No Cool nickname, Duran. We back in the building.
We are.
Part 2.
Still in OCL, of course.
Yeah.
Still highlighting the barrel bourbon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But, we're probably going to veer off a little bit from that.
Probably.
Maybe grab a couple other things.
Still smoking the CAO Amazon Basin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Will, for
of course.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And, of course, we still have Will here. And
Yes.
we're going to dive into some other topics with Will.
But yeah, we're gonna go back to where he was at.
That's right.
He was
back.
diving into the fact that he's a photographer. And Will is like, the funny thing about Will is he's hella humble, right? Like super fucking humble. You wouldn't know it by sitting with him, talking to him, right? Because I had no idea. Like, he told me he was a photographer. Like, I'm sitting next to him, we chopping it up, we becoming friends, great friends.
Yeah, because
right?
you're like, I'm a photographer.
Yeah, like I'm a photographer, right? Like, I'm a hobbyist, right? This is a photographer. I'm a hobbyist, right? Like, I can use a camera if you put it in my hand.
Right.
This dude,
I mean, it pays the bills.
It
does more than pay the bills, but like that's his job.
we speaking it up, but he'll be modest about it. But
I'm just saying, it's his job.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a hobby; it's a job.
So tell us about your photography, bro. What do you mainly do? Like, how did you get to the point that you're at? Like,
it's been very funny. I've always said, if regardless of what anyone does in life, whether it's you with insurance, whether it's Jason with one of his 38 careers he's had in his life, it's if you find something you're passionate about, the universe, as long as you're willing to work hard,
it'll reward you.
It'll pave the way for you.
Yeah.
As long as you're willing to trust that there's going to be another brick in front of you.
Yeah.
Even when you can't see the steps, And I've been very fortunate. The start of it was never anything inspirational. Everyone always asks me, what's your background? Do you have photographers in your family?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to school? I'm like, dog, I had a family vacation. My dad's parents were getting older, my pop and grandma, and I always said I wanted my dad to have better memories than a cell phone.
Yeah.
Because, keep in mind, a lot of people, if you're on the younger end, or haven't kept up with it, don't realize how much better cell phone cameras have gotten so fast.
Yeah, like, in like 10 years.
Yeah.
It went from like, they were terrible to they're damn near as
atrocious.
close to a professional camera.
Yes, it's absolutely insane. And it's like, at the time that I was getting into it, it was the iPhone. I want to think it was the 4 had just came out.
Okay.
So it's
like a 6 megapixel camera.
Yeah, it's still a potato. Like, it's terrible photos. And I always wanted him to have something better because I would watch them print the photos off of that. Mm-hmm. And anything above like a wallet photo was just terrible. Yeah. So I got, again, this goes back kind of like what we were talking about with jobs. I was making next to nothing, and I got on Groupon at the time. This is right when Groupon's just popping.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about cameras, if anything, but I find a Nikon with a lens already for $350.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, sick. I'll get that. I'll take some photos. And I get it in about a week before our family vacation. And I bet I had taken 10 photos. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I don't care how broke I am. I don't care how long I'm broke. I don't care if I never make a dime off this as long as I have a roof over my head. I'm going to do this.
That's dope.
It was the only thing I ever found that I truly love. And
how old were you at this time?
I would have been 24.
Okay.
And up until this point, I'm working soul sapping corporate jobs. And make no mistake, that's no knock on anyone that does. That works for some people.
Yeah.
But it's like, you all know me. I'm brash.
It's not for everybody.
I have my opinions. I talk a certain way no matter what room I'm in.
No doubt.
So corporate life just didn't work. I was an HR nightmare.
They're like,
dude,
they're like, Will, here's your PC filter.
Yeah,
we're gonna need you to put this on.
Yeah, here's your script.
Right. Yeah.
Don't deviate from this at all.
Here's what you can and you can't say.
Yeah.
Like, I was a WWF commentator. It's like, here's the words you can't use. Here's the words you can. say this. And it was just like, that didn't fit in with me. So, I got into it, and, I was very fortunate, believe it or not. You wouldn't know it looking at me, but once upon a time, I was a competitive bodybuilder. And I knew the amount of money it takes to compete. I know you can't realistically be broke and do that.
Right.
There's so many things that go into it. So I started taking pictures of some friends of mine in the gym. I became extremely close friends with a kid that was widely regarded as the next greatest bodybuilder there. He unfortunately passed away a couple years later. A kid named Dallas McCarver out of Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, big name.
Yeah, big country. He was originally actually out of Appleton. Lived in Hickson as well. And started taking some photos of him. And it would be like, if you picked up photography and your best friend was LeBron James, it's like you're starting at the top.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah. Rich Paul.
Yeah.
Rich Paul.
So
you have the #1 athlete in the world.
Yeah.
Is your best friend.
Yeah.
You want to be my agent?
Yeah. Right. I mean, since you insist. So it was just like, there was just nowhere to go from there. So it was like, okay, well, I'm going to try this.
Yeah.
And at the time, there's all these rules in that industry of, you're not allowed to have a camera in a building. So I would sneak my camera in.
Okay.
Just like concerts, I'd take the lens out. I would slide it in the leg of my pant. I'd take the body of my camera. I'd put it behind my wallet. I'd walk in. I'd go to the bathroom. I'd assemble it. I'd put it in a bag, go into the stands. I would take bookings online, $50 a pop.
Yeah.
Which was, I was making nothing.
Yeah.
At the time, I was lying to my mom that I was staying with a friend at each town I would go to for these shows. I was just sleeping in my car for the weekend, and I would shower at Pilot truck stops.
Yeah. It was a real grind.
Yeah, like it was
a real grind.
I had expensive homelessness.
Yeah.
Like, so it was just one of those things, I ate what I could get. I still to this day, one of the best memories I had of the start was 2018. I went to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada for a show. I had such little money that I had about a 36-hour travel because I had to book the cheapest thing I could possibly find. And this is obviously before COVID. I got lucky. I found a round trip for $270 from Cincinnati, Ohio to Vancouver, Canada, north of Seattle.
Jeez.
Like, dude, I can't fly. We can't fly to Atlanta for $270.
Nah.
That's a 2-hour drive, and we can't fly that for $270.
Oh man.
And I remember, so it ended up. I had a double layover. I had one that was an overnight layover in Winnipeg, Canada.
Okay.
And for 36 hours, I didn't drink or eat because I couldn't afford food or water at the airport. I got very fortunate. I landed. A competitor came up to me. They happened to know my signature. It was on a hat I was wearing at the time. And they said, I know it's too late to book you. What would your late fee be? And I was like, $150.
And they were like,
hell yeah.
done deal.
Like, all right, sick. I can eat. So I went to a Subway, got some food. I went back, and chilled. And, there was a lot of just really fortunate breaks with that at the start. And then, it was one of those things where, I remember the first year doing it, I made it was like $9,000. And then the second year, it was, a little more. I think I made, just over like $24,000. And then, it got to the point where, that gradually increased to the point where I was making my annual salary in some months. And it was just, I never thought about what was next.
Right.
I had a lot of friends that would get into photography and things like that. And they're like, how do you deal with the stress and the worry of where your next dollars come from? I'm like, I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
I've said for a while, I'm and this is probably a tad of a morbid twist. I've always said I'm living on borrowed time. 2016, I failed a suicide attempt. So, I've never really been worried about the next move.
Everything is up from there, right?
Yeah, it's like I've been like the legit rock bottom.
Yeah.
That's not, I lost my job rock bottom. That's not my wife left me rock bottom. That's, I don't want to be
here
anymore
yeah,
right.
rock
Yeah.
bottom.
Yeah.
So everything after that, the stress of work is a joke to me. The stress of life is a joke. People are, this time of year, what about the election? I don't care about the election. No. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to pay my taxes. I'm going to do the same thing I do every day. I don't care. I'm on borrow. I'm betting house money.
Yeah, I love it,
Man. So it's just, I was very fortunate that it just gradually evolved into something else. And
But I love the story because the way you describe it is, you didn't just wake up one day and you were successful.
No,
right? We got
There was
many,
work.
right?
Yes.
But we have so many people that see the success of others and are like, I want that, but don't realize or don't want to put in the years of grinding.
They don't realize the
That it's-
sacrifice that goes into being successful.
Right. Like it doesn't just happen.
Most people won't live most people won't drive a crappy car. It's like, no, I lived in mine.
Right.
Like, there's a very different breed. Like, and that's why I've always said, you can't knock someone successful. You can't. And I don't necessarily, now that's not to say, you can't have your thoughts about someone who, is given $1 million and they turn out to success. But someone who gets it from the mud, you cannot.
Bootstrapped it.
You can't knock that. You can't, I've always said, one of the best parts, one of the biggest motivating factors, and this isn't to knock them, I've got my mom tattooed on me and she's alive. That's wild. That's a memorial tattoo, and she's alive. My pops is actually in the front room. One of the greatest dudes I know. And it's like, growing up, I had I was a very gifted kid, so school was a joke to me. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and then the way my brain works within that creative scope. Before photography, I didn't have any type of creative outlet.
Right.
So I would do something new every 6 months.
Okay.
So when I first started this, my parents didn't believe in me. Understandably.
Yeah.
Like, everyone hears that and they're like, oh, that's fucked up. Your parents should always believe in you. It's like, no, they shouldn't. If you've given them no reason to, no, they shouldn't. And so that was one of the biggest gifts to me, was the fact that they didn't believe in that until I remember it was a very specific moment. In bodybuilding, our Super Bowl is called Mr. Olympia. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, it was in Las Vegas every year at a place called the Orleans. 2017, it's September. It's the weekend of September 17th was the finals. And I remember I went to fly out there, and my parents drove me from Lexington, Kentucky to Cincinnati Airport to fly to Vegas. And it was the first time that it hit them, like, oh, he does this.
Yeah, like, he really does. Like,
and like,
not just he does this, he's successful. Like, he's the guy.
He's doing this.
And it was so nice because the real money hadn't come yet. Mm-hmm. But they saw, like, I had top level competitors get online that were like talking shit to promoters for not having me at their shows.
Yeah, right.
And they were like, oh, like, people really support what he does. Like, this is something different. This is something he has a knack for, that he's grinded for. And it was the first time that I really saw, like, they realized, like, oh, this isn't a joke to him anymore. And, I was just very fortunate enough to within about 2 years after that, I was widely regarded as the best to ever do it in the bodybuilding industry. Now it's pretty unanimous that I am.
You are the guy.
Yeah, it's
you're the guy
ever. It's not current. I'm unanimously regarded as the best to ever do it. And I was very fortunate.
Yeah, I hear it. I make sure that, this is the first time I have not heard him be modest about it. I'm so happy that he said it out loud. Right. Like, listen, he's the guy. In bodybuilding, if you don't know his work, Jason will get his Instagram on the screen for you. Please go check my boy out. If you haven't seen what he's done, and his bodybuilding page is great. I don't know. You took a lot down recently.
Yeah. I started over new. We're going to gradually branch in. Okay. Because now I'm branching into other industries, and that's the funny thing. So the bodybuilding stuff is what I'm known for. My concert work is my best work.
I was going to ask.
It's crazy.
The concert stuff is what I'm seeing a lot of.
That's my best work. The concert and the combat, boxing. That is my best work. That is where I really thrive because, obviously, you can't tell because I'm sitting down, but, I'm rock and roll to the core. There's nothing 5-star steakhouse about me. Yeah. I own a couple tailored suits. You've never seen me in them.
No.
You'll never see me in a button-up, man. I'll go to a funeral dressed like this.
I love it, bro.
I'm this all the way through, and it's just, I was lucky enough that I became so known in the bodybuilding industry, I was able to parlay it into other things, But I just shot my second ever boxing event. It was for Matchroom Boxing. That's the biggest boxing promotion in the world.
Yeah.
And that was all because, their head photographer is a fan of bodybuilding and knew me through that.
And he called up and was like, yo, can you?
Yeah. My first break in the concert work, I sent him, one of our bodybuilding shows, we actually had Dee Snider, the lead singer of Twisted Sister. We're not gonna take it.
Right.
He performed at one of our shows. I took some photos of him on stage. I sent it to a couple bands, and they're like, "What's your rate?" I told them.
Okay.
We started working.
Like, you've done some pretty big rock and roll acts recently, right?
Yeah, Guns N' Roses, Slipknot, Stevie Nicks.
So again,
You know,
he's the guy,
Right.
you
He's
know?
the guy.
So people don't understand. Like, when I'll be like, "Yo, no," people tell me all the time they do photography, and I'm like, "Oh, for real?" Like, let me see what you like. Again,
Like
not-
who?
like, I'm no super, photographer and nothing like that, but I'm okay, right? I got a friend who's really good, and then I have a friend that's great. It's like, so which level are you? Like,
Right.
I'm a hobbyist. Got my homeboy. He's coming along. Like, you met him, Josh. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
He does
Lewis,
great
yeah,
work. You know what I'm
great.
saying? Like, and
nice as can be.
yeah, it's super nice. And then
Yeah.
there's Will. It's like,
Right.
there's levels to this shit.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
there's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying? So like,
Well, and you're not doing, like, your photography, I think, has branched you into things like sort of non-photography or maybe videography.
Yeah,
maybe, right?
absolutely.
So, like, I hear you've told me about where people get you to come in and just do their lighting setup.
Yeah. I do stage production and lighting setup. I bought all my own lights and stuff like that. And it's I've always said, like, I think every human in the world, for the most part, has some artistic bone in them. They've just got to find out what art it is. Like, for example, I couldn't draw a fucking stick figure if you put a gun in my head. No, I'm terrible. And it's wild because my brother can do like photorealism sketches.
Okay.
Like insane stuff that doesn't look like a photo or like a drawing. Like it's wild. My niece she's 14, 15, and she's like legitimately like a national level ballerina.
wow.
Like,
Wow.
one of my close friends in Canada, she's actually won Canadian National Artist of the Year several years running. She's a marble sculptor.
That's crazy.
Like
glass
Michelangelo
marble?
shit.
Like glass marbles.
In that.
No. Like a
Marble.
block of marble.
Oh, like the rock marble.
Like block marble.
And
like,
carve out
bing, 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 bing,
sculptures.
bing, bing.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah, like
And it's
that's
like,
difficult.
That's an artist.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I always say, like, when someone comes up to me, I'm like, I take pictures.
Yeah, see, there's that modest shit again, right?
It's also realism. It's like, there's levels. Like, I'll have.
He's like, you chip marble, I click a button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's.
But you don't just click a button.
No,
I know,
framing a shot is hard. bro.
There's got to be a healthy perspective. Like, I'll have, like, I hate the F word fan. I fucking hate it. Because it's like, no, you support my work.
Yeah.
Like, right. I don't like I've said, like, I think if you're a grown adult and you have an idol, that's weird. Why do you idolize another adult?
That's true.
Like, just, it's an odd concept to me. Like, that was always one thing. Like, my family always, I'm not particularly that way, but my family always, growing up, it was, you shouldn't idolize anyone but God or whatever God you believe in, the universe. Whatever it is you believe in, you should idolize that. You shouldn't idolize another man because they're just as flawed as you. You just don't see that.
Absolutely.
Right? And so it's like, but I've got a lot of people that support my work that'll come up and they act like I'm changing the world. It's like, no, I get it. I'm making your day better. I might give you the time of day that maybe someone else doesn't at my level, and that makes you feel a certain way. But it's like, I'm not changing the world. My brother is a firefighter, EMT.
He legitimately.
That's a hero.
Yeah.
My sister is a respiratory therapist in emergency rooms. That's a hero. That's changing lives. That's saving lives.
Yeah.
I take pictures. Like, I'm not going to sit here. Like, in my field, am I great at what I do? Yes. Make no mistake. I've always said, like, I'm humble in myself, not what I do. I know what I am, but I'm nobody.
Yeah, but see,
like, as a human.
So he went from I'm number one to
No.
Mr. Modest real quick.
No.
But
I love it. As a human.
No, I love it.
As a human, I'm modest. As a photographer, I know what I am.
Right.
I know I'm great at what I do.
I'm
always
giving you
said,
flack.
and I've always said, I prefer real arrogance over false humility. I think fake humble is the biggest bullshit
nasty,
in the world.
bro.
It's terrible. Like, don't just act
Nasty
like that.
work.
Like, it's what's that? What's the term, like, young folk use now? Virtue signaling. It's that. It's like, oh, I'm a good person. See how much I care about this.
Right.
It's like, that's fake humility. It's
Right.
like, no, that's fake. Like,
I've always, I don't know. Somebody called me a narcissist recently because, like, they were like, "You're supposed to be humble." I'm like, "Why?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you ain't gonna believe in me. Someone's got to.
You can be humble and confident and proud in who and what you are.
But that's what. But humble is
can,
like the opposite of that. Like like humble is I'm not supposed to speak about the great things that I do and I've accomplished.
Yeah.
Like so, and it bothers me that somebody told me that I was like a narcissist because I said, "No, I'm good at what I do."
Yeah.
Like I'm damn good. Like the reason why I excel is because I'm damn good at what I do.
I'm not saying I'm better than you as a person.
No.
But I'm damn better at you than what I do.
What I do. Like I'm that guy. Like you know what I'm saying. So like it's just one of those things where it was just like, this flawed thought process of like we have to make ourselves what people want us to be
right now.
Well,
it's like I used a phrase recently. I said, it's far more important for you to be able to look in the mirror than to be digestible to others. Because you got to sleep at night.
Yeah,
I don't care if you like what I stand on. Because I'm going to stand on what I believe on, no matter what I stand to lose.
Realistically, I think the reason me and you got along so very well from the very moment is that we met is just because we are unapologetically ourselves.
I've always used the phrase, and I get it from a comedian, a guy named Patrice O'Neill that passed away.
My God.
Probably would have been the best comedian of all
Ever,
time if he hadn't died. But it was like, I use a term that was used about his career. I'm debilitatingly authentic. I've crippled my own career at times because I'm going to speak the exact same way, regardless if I'm in a room with God himself or a bum.
So I literally wear a suit quite often, right?
Yeah.
But even in that suit, I'm going to be the same old guy that I've always been, right? Like that's just what I'm going to be. And it's a beautiful thing. That's why I think everybody in our group is that way, right? Like no one tries to pretend to be something else, right?
I literally had a rough end of the year because I got into it with a figure in my industry, and I said, "There's a door. We can go out it if you want."
Yeah.
Right. And it's like it's one of those things where it's like, "Oh, that stands to harm your career." It's like, no, I'm a man. Like in the end, I was raised to be a man first.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if you do what's right, it always works out.
Yeah.
Like you bounce back. Like I remember, what I'm saying? Like you just being around and like, I was like, yo, what's up? Aren't you normally gone?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, some things. I was like, okay, man.
And it's literally,
it is what it is. But
saw the dude a couple weeks ago at an event in Ohio. We dapped each other up. We hashed it out. I said, look, man, I know you were just doing your job. My bad about reacting that way. I know I should have kept a little more calm. My apologies. Yeah. He's like, nah, man. He's like, I don't. And, he used a great phrase. He's like, I don't like you. And I joked, and I was like, that's all right. You can get in line. And he's like, no, not like that. He's like, no, like, I love you as a person. Yeah. Like, I really do. He's like, I was just doing my job. He's like, I just didn't want this to get to some people and me get in trouble. I was like, no, I get it. I was like, I respect that. I've sat down. I've processed everything. Yeah. I know I came in hot. That's, believe it or shocker. That's my.
No, that's what we are, right? I'm that guy too. Every once in a while, I get a little off center.
I've always said it's easier for a car to brake from 100 than to accelerate to 100. So I'm just going to start at 100. And we'll take it back down. I'll be like, all right, I'm going 100. They're clearly going 30.
You need to back it up a little bit.
We need to get closer to that.
I got you.
So it was just, it's one of those things where it's like, that's where a lot of that comes from. Like, I'm not, I'm not, I think there's a gap in the word cocky and arrogant. I think arrogance isn't earned. I think cockiness is. Cockiness is just brash confidence. Yeah. And it's like, in my career, I've earned that.
Yeah, you know what you are.
Yeah.
You know your self-worth. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I would be fake to sit here and be like, yeah, I'm just an average photographer. I know
I love it.
So it's just,
I got to say it on the podcast.
It's on record.
I'm going to say it on the podcast.
It's on record.
The journey's just been wild, though. But I mean, it's brought some of the greatest things into my life.
So what does the kind of the future hold for you? What's the outlook in your photography world? Because
what
are you looking at?
Busy bodybuilding season actually starts in April. Concert season will start back in the summer for me. I'll be mixing in boxing as well, starting about May-ish. Okay. And then, all goes well here in town. The developer and I have actually chatted a couple times that bought and is developing the mill, the old woolen mill. Yeah. And I'll actually be opening a photo studio there.
Oh, nice.
Very nice.
Yeah, so that way we can do, everything from professional headshots, to, modeling, creative work for me when when I'm in that rut and I just,
Nice.
need to do something creative. I'll be able to have bands and stuff come into town for promo work.
That's awesome.
And that'll be really nice too, because, I was able to work with Paul and his wife from in here.
Yeah.
We need to get him on the podcast.
We do.
Yeah. Just, my God, dude, just crazy knowledge about cigars. Started smoking at 10.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I thought I was irresponsible, man. I thought I was
How the fuck are you still walking around?
When I was like, what do you mean? Like, what do you smoke? Like 2 a year? He's like, no, I was smoking daily at 10. I'm like, dog, that's some Great Depression type shit. Like, you have a meal ticket as well? That's insane. Like, that's legitimate, like French Revolution. That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he's another one. But yeah, I was fortunate enough with all of that going on in my life at the time. He reached out to me with his wife Christine going through what she's going through, and they wanted to do a quote unquote last photo shoot or whatever, and to be able to do that for him, and he actually blessed me because he knew I wouldn't take money. He blessed me with an incredible collection of discontinued cigars that he's had sitting in his humidor. I think the majority of them were discontinued around 2013.
Wow.
Dude, he's giving me some stuff that just like is outrageous, like, realistically.
Yeah, he's got stuff sitting in his humidor that's been there for well over a decade.
Yeah,
so it's crazy.
Insane stuff. And
like, Paul has literally done everything in the cigar realm.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like, everything.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a testament to the great person he is. But it's what Will has done, right, is so he's, again, there's the human being in Will, right? Like, so
and he's paying it forward, kind of, right? I mean,
always does, man. Like, he's taking
important.
photos for me. He's taking photos for everyone in our group, right?
I've always said I'm the meanest caring person.
Like, what was funny? So I don't know how he's gonna feel about it. He loves Christmas.
Yes,
dude.
He loves Christmas.
Yeah,
dude.
Like, this is the thing y'all connect on, right? Like, y'all are Christmas buffs.
Every ounce of cynicism leaves my body.
You love Christmas.
As soon as I hear that god awful Mariah Carey, just every ounce of cynical just leaves me. And I don't know why. It's the one time of year, like, I'm a genuinely happy, chipper person.
Yes.
And I go
giddy about the shit.
Yeah.
And it sucks owning an apartment when you love Christmas.
Yeah, because I can't do anything with the yard.
Yeah, you can't do anything, right? So, like, when we bought the house, 3 years ago now, like, we didn't have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had to buy, and this stuff's expensive.
Yeah.
So I've had to buy it little by little, and I'm just going to keep going, right?
Yeah, and now your front yard is like, crazy when you out do Christmas.
I don't think it's crazy at all right now.
No.
To me, it's small.
Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
When I had my house,
like, I don't even want you to see the house or the backyard.
when I had my house,
that's where I want to be.
When I had my house, I went to Lowe's one random. It was like a Tuesday in November. Dropped $2,700 on inflatables.
That's crazy, bro.
Went wild. It just went home immediately. I just started staking them in the yard, man. I don't know what it is, and it's like, I think it's because of that humble upbringing.
Yeah.
Being taught, be happy with what you have, or you'll never be happy.
Yeah.
Right.
And because of that, like, I'm still not good. Jill's a prime example when she brings me cigars. I'm like, Jill, will you please fucking stop?
Yeah, will you let me pay for some?
Yes. I'm still terrible. I don't care how much I've done or given to someone. I'm terrible at getting gifts.
Yeah.
But Christmas time, dude, I am a gift giver.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I love watching people get things, especially, if you've got kids, if you've got, a wife, a house, if you got all these things, and you tend to forget to take care of yourself. If I can be that person to be like, no, I understand you can't put yourself forward. Because I always hate everyone that's like, no, you've got to put yourself forward sometimes. It's like, sometimes you can't.
Yeah, no.
Right. Sometimes
there are things bigger than you sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like I've always said, like, the biggest thing for me, like, no matter what I'm going through in life, depression, stress, whatever it is, the easiest way, everyone always, self-care will get you out of it. No, it ain't. It's taking care of other people to get me out of it.
Right.
I go and I find someone who's going through something worse than me, and I help them out.
Yeah.
I was having a terrible end of the year because of how everything went. And then Paul reached out to me with Christine.
Right.
That day was the greatest thing that ever could have possibly happened to me at that time. It had nothing to do with me saying, like, oh, I'm going to sit down. And I turned around right after that. Literally, the second I left that shoot, I drove 7.5 hours to Columbus, Ohio to get up there for an event.
Mhm.
And it was like, I didn't, it was all because Paul, because her medical, we had to operate on the drop of a dime. So it was that last little thing. And it was just like, hey, can you be here Saturday morning? And like, I didn't even think about like being late to the event. I was like, I don't give a shit what time we got to do it. Let's be there. I don't care if I have to drive straight there. I don't care if I got to book a last minute flight to get there on time. Let's do it.
So, real quick, getting back to the Christmas thing, you guys just both reminded me, right? Because you're in an apartment now, and I was in an apartment before, but when we moved into those apartments, I had a bunch of outdoor stuff, right? Okay. And actually convinced the apartment complex to let me decorate their like entrance.
No, you didn't.
I did.
That's awesome.
I did.
Like the foyer?
No, I'm talking the
front lawn.
The front lawn.
Oh,
that's wild, bro.
Yep. And they let me do it for years, until eventually it was just getting to be a little much, and so I gave them everything and said, you guys can put it
decorate it how you see fit.
That's right. But I used to, and then people. I remember one time we went up to the front office and we were chatting with the workers, whatever, right? And they were telling us that people one day, a bunch of people were stopping by and taking pictures.
Yeah.
And so they went out there to see what was going on. Well, some group of people were doing a scavenger hunt. And one of the things they had to do was get a picture with a snowman. And I had a big snowman inflatable up there. So it was huge. It was a 10-foot snowman or whatever it was, Lord. Right? Yeah, it was a huge snowman. So you could see it.
Want to drink?
I want to do the midwinter.
You could see it from half a mile away or whatever, right?
Speaking
so
of Christmas.
Right? And they would pull in there, get out, whatever, take their picture and go on about their day, whatever. But like that kind of how do I say it? Sequence of events with the connection to the community. Those people would have never stopped at that apartment complex, and maybe that didn't affect anyone, right? But it could have, and it was at the main entrance. Yeah. So everyone that came home had to drive by all that stuff.
Yeah.
And the kids would come out and, come look at it. And
that's dope, bro. I think it's amazing.
So, and that's another statement. Like I've always said, like how cool this little town is.
Yeah.
The way they shut down downtown for the parades, man. The Main Street cruise in, once a month for the car show. The way the community comes together.
I agree.
Small business Saturdays. The Apple Fest, all of them, man. It's just. Like I've always said, like that's one of the coolest things. Like I'm so grateful that I was raised the way I was to appreciate a small life.
Yeah,
because it's like I could never imagine living like downtown Chattanooga. Like,
I literally just said that like the other day. My wife was like, so we're at the point where everything's going really well and like we're blessed, right? We're talking about where we want to live, what we want to do, and so just was like. I could never envision like living big city life again.
Oh God, no!
Like being from a big city, I just can't envision it anymore. Right? Like we're gonna take a trip to go home and eat. Like that. Yeah. Literally, what we're going home to do is I'm going home to New York to eat.
Right?
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I can't envision doing it anymore. It's crazy.
The thought of living like in Atlanta.
Oh my God. The traffic alone.
Forget about it.
Even close to it.
Like the suburbs, the outskirts of Atlanta metropolitan area. It's insufferable. That thought of just an hour commute each way to work. It's just like, that's insane.
Did that for 3 years in Florida. Hated it.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that type of life. And that's, and whether it be my personality or it be, whether it be, the nature versus nurture personality, whether it be that's what I'm born as, or it's what, my career's turned me into, where it's like, I have a very unique, thing where it's like when you work in like an artistic field, it's like, you really can't force inspiration. You unfortunately, like, I've always said, like, what, everyone always says, what's the best thing for creativity? Sit. Don't listen to music.
Observe.
Don't listen. Right. Don't watch television. Go out in a public place.
Sit
in a coffee shop.
Be present somewhere.
Stay off your phone. Watch people.
Yeah.
Listen to the way they interact. Watch the way they interact. That's inspiration. And it's like, that was one of the biggest things when I was living in Florida is I could walk to the water from my place. And we had a coffee shop that was on the yacht docks. And the yacht docks was this inlet, and we would have manatees that would come swimming up.
Right up to you.
It was wild. Like, they'd come up and, like, I use the phrase, like, boop. like a dog. They'd boot your feet if you hung them off the dock. And I would go and I would get a double shot of espresso, and I would go and sit at the end of the dock, and I would just dangle my feet off, and I would just sit there at the water and just relax. And it's like, I remember, like, I would get in trouble because I would get a call, and I wouldn't have my phone. I would leave it in the car. And it's like, no, it's 7 p.m., dude.
I'm being present.
It's 7 p.m.
I'm being present in life, man.
Yeah.
That's a good way to say it.
I
Present in life.
Being present in life.
Yeah.
I was there
Absolutely.
from 9 to 5. It's 7. Stop calling me.
Leave me alone.
Like,
It's over. I have a life too.
Yeah.
Right.
I have a life too.
But like, I've talked about this, where pre-pandemic, if you asked me, I would have told you that I was a homebody, that I was an introvert, that
I don't disagree with that.
like I would have told anybody that, right? And we actually considered, speaking of living in a large city, right before the pandemic, we actually considered moving into downtown Chattanooga,
Oh, good Lord.
like close enough for me to walk to work.
I can
Oh, you would
always
have hated
imagine
that.
you. in
I probably
downtown
would have.
Chattanooga.
I probably would have, right? And,
Yeah,
and
hated
I'm glad we didn't, right?
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, and now we're here for good. But yeah, I would have told you, like, I don't really like getting out, all that kind of stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and the pandemic made me realize I'm not a homebody. I am not an introvert. I need people.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's like,
like you say, I need to be present.
Yeah.
I've always said, like, I don't think, and I actually use two different terms. I would still consider you an introvert. Like, I use a decisive term between it. A lot of people generalize, like, an introvert. They think that means you've got to be a hermit.
Right.
Like, they think that means you don't like being around any human. You want to sit inside alone. And my friend that sculpts in Canada,
Mhm.
she's like a legitimate hermit. Like, she didn't leave her house for 5 years.
That's crazy.
Not her town, not her land. She didn't leave her house for 5 years.
Wow.
And that's a hermit. Like, actually Lee and I had the conversation up front, and we were talking about some boxing events where he wants to get in the boxing promotion. And we were talking about, he's definitely an extrovert. He wants to be out there in the business world. I'm like, honestly, that's the greatest thing about photography for me, is I can be behind a camera.
Sure.
I am truly an introvert. However, I value human energy, like human presence.
Yeah. Right.
I want to go have my coffee at a coffee shop.
Right.
Because if I just sit at home alone, the way my mind works, I'll go insane.
Yeah.
I'll be Jack Nicholson from The Shining.
Busting through doors.
I don't even live with people, and I'll just start axing people. So it's one of those
You're
things.
never trouble back someone.
It's one of those ones where it's like, I love getting out and being around people, even if I don't want to talk. I always bring up that one Friday.
That we had a day.
It was like 8 of us back here.
We all had a day.
We were here for 45 minutes, an hour. Not a word was said. Not what's up, nothing. It was Duran, me, Jill. I think Crowder was still around at the time. A couple other people. We sat back here legitimately 45 minutes, an hour. Corey was here. We didn't say a single word to each other.
Nothing.
And then finally, Duran goes, "Damn, we all have that kind of week." And it was like, yeah. And it was one of those things where it was just like, we could have sat at home and said the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like just being in a room of people that are there for you.
Yeah.
Right.
That if you talk, like, that's what I've always called, I always call cigars man therapy.
Yeah, bro.
Like, I don't get, like, I've tried the therapy thing. I don't get shit out of it. Coming here, just shooting the shit. Because I know at the very least I've got a room full of people that I'm not paying to be there and listen to me. But, my pops and I were talking about that last night going home from here. I've got 14 people here that I know I could call at 1 a.m.
3 a.m. friends.
Yeah.
3 a.m. friends, right? Like, you got those people that
The 6 p.m. friends
6 p.m.
and the 3 a.m.
to 3 a.m.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I call you at 3 a.m. Go get the shovel.
What's up, man?
Go get the shovel.
You need to shovel in the
Get the
plastic.
strap. We did some shit. We got a problem.
I know they would show up.
I'm there.
Like, it's funny. I know the clip that comes from was inspired by one of my favorite movies called The Town.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Affleck walks in, Jeremy Renner sitting on the floor. He says, "Look, I need your help. You know, you
I can't tell you what it is.
I can't tell you what it is or what we're doing. You can never ask me about it again. Whose car are we taking? Like, right. I've got those people.
Yeah,
here.
man.
And it's like, you know, I get so much more out of that. And like, I even get more out of like, if I come in here and it's like someone else is going through something and they want to bring it up to me, and then I can just sit there and help them through it. Like, even, because like I've always said, like, some people just like, and it's not like, you know, how, you know, the man woman thing where it's like, you know, some women just want to vent. It's like 9 times out of 10, dude doesn't even want to vent. They just want to have someone in the room.
Yeah.
Like I've always said, like, you know, there's one thing that stuck with me about 3 years ago that I still to this day say is the reason men die younger than women. The fact that it sticks with me shows me that is I was driving through a neighborhood. There's an old fella, 80, 85 years old, 1-floor house, attached garage. He had the garage door open, all old, cool, like Ford and, you know, Route 66 gas station memorabilia all over the garage.
Okay.
3 brown leather lazy boys facing out of the garage.
Okay.
An old school transistor radio on an old igloo cooler.
Okay.
With
a
some
couple
beers.
Of buddies.
It was him and 2 other dudes his age smoking cigars together.
Okay.
And I was like, the fact that that's so rare that has stuck with me for 3-4 years now. That's why men die younger, is because they don't have that.
Right.
It's like, you know, they just did a study about that recently. They surveyed men over 35, and 93% of men said they had 0 close friends. And when they defined what a close friend was, it was just someone they trusted would pick up the phone if they called. Or said, I'm going through something, can you talk?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
93 out of 100 men said they had 0.
Yeah, so most people have less than 5 true friends.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 5.
And I guess I consider myself really blessed. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Because, like,
all of us, all 3 of us.
I got a network, man.
Yeah.
Like,
and it goes back to like what you were saying about, you know, my photography or anyone's career in here. It's like none of us give a shit what any of us are. We give a shit who we are.
Yeah.
And that was it. I don't give a shit what you do or what you can or can't offer me.
That's right.
I care about you or anyone else in here that's a part of our group as a human being. And I just want to be there for them as a human.
Yeah.
Right.
Ain't got shit to do with what they can or can't provide.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Joe, I think we should stop. Like, right? Yo, he just...
Domino!
He
like,
just
bang!
He just dropped the mic.
That's it.
I rolled the Yahtzee.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he just gave it to us, right? Let's do our final thoughts.
All right.
So we had a couple of drinks.
Mm-hmm.
We did the CAO Amazon Basin.
Absolutely.
We did the barrel bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
I think all 3 of us, or no, me and you went to the Buzzard's Roost. Will went to the Midwinter's Dram. So, Jason, you normally start us off, so let's do it. You give your final thoughts. We'll go to Will, and then I'll give mine.
So, I mean, the cigar, I think we talked about it a lot last in part 1, right? But this is a great cigar. We've been smoking on this thing steady for like 2 hours.
Yeah, man.
You know, and like Will's got a lot left because he's been doing a lot of talking.
I've still got a third.
But we were supposed to let him do a lot of talking.
So you look at me and Duran, like we're pretty equal.
Jason outsmoked me.
Like I did, right?
Jason outsmoked me for the first time
and
ever.
the key thing to remember with this is you can smoke through that little wrapper.
Absolutely.
That is tobacco.
You can, but I tend to take it off.
Really?
I do because
I have never.
And here's why. Because the airflow is really restrictive here.
That's why I take it off.
Yeah, because like so you can smoke through it, but like the draw gets so hard, and trying to keep it lit while it's going through that is not easy.
I have never paid attention.
Like,
never had that issue.
So I go ahead when it gets to it, I go ahead and take it off. But this is a phenomenal cigar. Like even if you're not chatting with someone, it's still going to last you 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yes.
Right. Will's going to be on that thing for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, so realistically,
my pop's still up there smoking. I heard him go into the humidor. It's like when you heard your mom walking with keys when you're a kid. They have a specific walk that you learn to recognize.
And then the bourbon, like the barrel bourbon, was
phenomenal.
So great with this cigar. Like the nuances of what they did, it just was amazing.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, the cigar rye, we've done it before. Like there's just
bang for your buck. It's Amazon Basin of bourbon.
Bingo,
dude. Yes.
Bang for your buck. Absolutely. $62 a bottle. Get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I got.
Well, right. It's on you, man.
Yeah, I mean, everything you said about the Amazon Basin is just spot on. I mean, even me, it's like I'm getting to that final third where it's starting to unfold again. And it's like, again, you're smoking 3 cigars. You really are. The nuances, and it's like what's really unique is none of the nuances ever necessarily go away. One of them just overtakes the other ones.
Yep.
And then they just kind of cycle through.
Just gradually.
It's like the old, like, I explained it to someone recently. It's like the old game when you were a kid where they would have the ball and cover it with a cup. It's that. It's never necessarily a direct order. It's just something's overtaking something.
That's right.
The other cups never go away.
Yeah.
Something else is just overtaking it. It's just, again, I've told people from day one, from the first one I smoked, it's bang for your buck, the best cigar on the planet. At $14, you get out. I mean, the extra añejo is what, 16?
It's
16,
like
17.
Yeah. It's like,
that's what it's supposed to be.
Right.
I've seen it a lot more.
Yeah, it's like
that's MSRP.
Yeah, if you can get them for MSRP, I mean, it legitimately is the two best bang for your buck sticks on the market. Again, you're getting 3 different ones, and I'm a bit of a unique one where I actually think the extra añejo is a better cigar, but I prefer this one for my palate.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
And like you said, I mean, the same thing, the barrel bourbon. And if any of you all are interested in it, it's barrel bourbon Tell of Two Islands, because it's aged in the barrels from the Tell of Two Islands rum they released. Same thing you said. It helps it unfold so much when you start to mix that in. And then, like you said, almost like synergistically, like it's not just that the bourbon makes the cigar unfold. The cigar makes the bourbon unfold as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts to balance out the sweetness with the bourbon in it. And it just, like you said, you got the corn sweetness, but you've also got that molasses rum sweetness.
Yeah,
and it's so spot on. And one thing I love, because I'm not a big spiced rum guy, I like that it actually has a rum taste.
Yeah. Right.
And that's so nice. And then to go to Midwinter, I mean, it's just, that definitely is more of a straightforward bourbon.
Yeah.
But it's still, I mean, it's still one of those ones. Anytime I see a bottle of it, I've got to get it. It's so good anytime.
Yep. Absolutely.
And, it's one of those ones where I'll go to hell, 3 of these bottles, I know for a fact are 3 of my favorite bourbons that I can get. I'm yet to have that down home. I might try that when we stop rolling.
Yeah, we're gonna rock on it.
Sure. But it's like those 3 alone. It's like like I said, if you're cool with the price point, you want to try something different, outstanding. Bang for your buck. It doesn't get better than a cigar rye. It really doesn't. I mean, hell, some of the Woodford Double Oak is more expensive than that.
Agreed.
Yeah. And obviously Midwinters, if you can get it,
good luck.
Is a fantastic bourbon.
Yeah, good luck.
But I mean, everything paired well, so good today. Like I said, it was just a lucky happenstance that I saw that one when we walked in,
right,
and read the label. And everyone says a Pinot Noir or a single malt to go with this stick, and then to go in and find a bourbon that was previously done with a single malt in a rum barrel,
right,
and then to have all those things perfectly lay out, was just absolutely outstanding. And then to get to mix them with the Midwinters, outstanding. But
for me, like, I don't think there's much left for me to say, man. Like, the CAO Amazon Basin, it's an absolutely unbelievable cigar. Again, best bang for your buck. I don't think you can find a cigar that is this good at this price point outside of maybe 1 or 2, right? Yeah. But this, for me, stands leaps and bounds above all the others. As far as what we drank today, that barrel, I'm going to find a bottle. Just being completely honest, it is phenomenal. Yeah. Drinking it neat, clean, dry palate before we ever lit the cigar just gave me all of the nuances of it, and it is a phenomenal spirit. Any way you look at it, you're going to enjoy it. If you don't, it might be something wrong with your palate. Just being honest. Not trying to be rude, just saying. As far as the cigar rye, listen, we've talked about that a million times. It is our #1 sleeper bottle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, a lot of people don't know about it, but like, that is a cigar in a bottle.
Yes, it is.
Like, straight up, it's a cigar in a bottle.
Yeah.
Everything else we have on the table, I've enjoyed all of them. They're all very good. The Midwinter's Dram is from the personal collection, and as you can see, we like it quite a bit.
Yes, right? We do.
But hey, that's where we at. It's been a good day.
Man.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Y'all know what it is, man. It's another episode of High Proof Ashes. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that little bell so that you know when we drop new content. Will, thank you so much for being a guest on the episode.
Thank you for having me, brothers.
We appreciate you, man. My co-host is...
I'm Jason JV Smoke. and put some smoke in the air, right?
That's it.
We'll see you on the next one.
Yes, sir.
All right.